This episode of MSP Chat is sponsored by Datto, your partner in delivering real business continuity without the hardware headaches. Let's talk reliable disaster recovery in the cloud. Datto Endpoint Backup with Disaster Recovery is a turnkey BCDR solution built specifically for MSPs. No appliances, no infrastructure to manage, just hourly, direct-to-cloud backup with ransomware protection and fast recovery capabilities, all in one platform. Whether your clients are remote, hybrid, or fully cloud-based, you can protect every endpoint and restore fast when disaster strikes. And the best part, you manage everything, every client, every device, right from the intuitive Datto portal. Want to deliver next-level recovery without deploying a single box? Visit Datto.com to learn more about Datto Endpoint Backup. That's Datto.com. And 3, 2, 1, blast off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the MSP Chat Podcast, your weekly visit with two talking heads talking with you about the services, strategies, and success tips you need to make it big in managed services. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm Chief Analyst at Channel Master, the organization responsible for this show. I am joined virtually this time by your other co-host, our CEO and Chief Strategist at Channel Master, Erick Simpson. Erick, how's it going?
It's going great, Rich. Winding up a busy week here before I take a little personal travel for some enjoyment, and as opposed to you returning from travel from work.
And we will get into what that work trip was. I just actually got back late yesterday, but I will simply point out that before I went to Arizona on this work trip, I was down in Southern California hanging out with Erick and the great Riley Simpson, who you hear us mention. He helps us on the editing on this show, and his son Connor and the four of us went off to see their Los Angeles Rams play my Seattle Seahawks. And if you know anything about the outcome of that game, you know that the beer we drank and the social time we spent together was much more satisfying for me than the outcome of that game. But it was a really good time, Erick, and it was good to see you and Connor and Riley in the flesh.
Yeah, it was a great time. We had a fun, exciting day at SoFi. Watching the Rams and the Seahawks battle it out for the NFC West Championship. Let's just leave it there then, Rich, shall we?
That is very gracious of you, sir. I just opened the door to some smack talking, and you declined that invitation, so I do appreciate that. And I will say that I'll say something else. First of all, for those who pay attention to such things, this is episode 100 of MSP Chat. Now, I looked this up recently. Only about 5% of podcasts ever make it to episode 100. So we are in an elite cohort right now of podcasts with 100 episodes out there. I guarantee you we're going way past 100. We are not actually going to celebrate this important milestone on this episode of the show. We're going to do that next week on episode 101. And the method to the madness there is next week's show will air during the Thanksgiving holiday. We traditionally do an abbreviated episode anyway. We don't want to spend a ton of time thumping each other on the back for making it to 100 episodes. So that abbreviated Thanksgiving week edition or episode of the show will be our celebration of 100 episodes. Until then, I will simply say for all of you, whether this is your first episode or your 100th of the show, thank you for coming along with us on the journey. We really appreciate your listenership, your viewership, and your support. And we look forward to bringing you lots more high-quality content and interviews like the 2 interviews we're going to bring you in this show that Erick and I recorded from the Ingram Micro 1 event just a few weeks back. We've got their global head of marketing, Jennifer Anaya, and their VP of technology solutions. So think anything advanced solutions, AI, IoT, Cheryl Rang. They're going to be with us on the show coming up in a little bit. But first, let's talk a little bit. I'm just back from Arizona, where I went after the football game the next morning, Erick, was to attend an event staged by Top Down Ventures. Now, we've had Top Down on the show before. This is a venture capital company, 100% focused on startups that are focused on the MSP space. And they put an event together, a 2-day event. It was a combination of some of their portfolio companies, investors in those companies, potential investors, a wide range of luminaries. It was a really, for somebody like me who's sort of into that thought leadership stuff, this was 2 days of heaven on earth in Arizona, even if it was raining a little bit while I was there. The thoughts I'm going to share right now come out of both that 2-day event and a white paper that Top Down published in a coordination with that event. And I'll link to a press release that kind of summarizes the report and has a link if you want to read the whole thing. It's a little over 60 pages, but time well spent. Trust me, this is really, really good stuff. But based on the 2 days, based on the white paper, here's at a high level what I'm kind of thinking right now. And the gist of it is this: there are going to be a lot more applications out there targeting you as an MSP over the course of the next few years. And I think this is going to be a good thing for you as an MSP. And the reason this is going to happen, and we're already starting to see it now, is venture capital is getting very interested in managed services. Now, we're all familiar with the fact that private equity has been very interested in the managed services sector of the IT economy for a long time. They've been buying vendors, they've been buying MSPs and rolling them up. That is ongoing, that is continuing. Venture capital firms aren't new to this space either. A lot of companies you're familiar with and like. Off the top of my head, I can think of Huntress and Roost and Lion. There are a lot of companies out there that have done very well with MSPs and got their start with venture capital funding. But we're seeing a lot more VC money come into the managed services space right now. And I'm going to give you a few statistics that were shared with the audience at this top-down event and in the white paper that will help explain this. And so 595 billion, according to Omdia, formerly known as Canalys, the total spend on managed services this year, 595 billion. It's on its way to 950 billion by 2030, just shy of $1 trillion. That's a 13% compound annual growth rate. In 2026, next year, Eric, and this is huge, according both to IDC and some data from Microsoft, global spending by SMBs on IT will exceed global spending by enterprise businesses for the first time. The SMB space, we've all known that, in terms of just the sheer numbers of SMBs, they outnumber enterprise and they spend a lot of money on technology, and that's a very important market. It will actually be a bigger, more important market in terms of total addressable market than enterprise beginning next year. That's going to attract attention from venture capital firms and others. AI native startups are selling, and the top-down folks know this pretty well, this is their bailiwick. AI native startups are selling right now for about 10 to 12 times their next 12-month revenue. That's versus 5x for a traditional SaaS company. So double or more than double. Very, very valuable right now. And manage what the top-down folks call managed AI platforms, basically. So AI-specific and AI-native tools. That's estimated to be a $1.3 trillion market globally by 2030. So between numbers like that and all of the attention private equity has been paying to managed services, the venture capital world is paying attention to managed services in a much bigger, deeper way. We're already seeing more money come into this space. You're going to see even more than we're seeing come in in 2026 and 2027 and beyond. And what that's going to mean, obviously, is there just going to be a lot of startups out there going after your business as an MSP. This is how it works in venture capital. They invest in 10 companies. They assume 9 of them will be a disaster, and they hope that the 10th is going to make them a huge amount of money. And so you're just going to see them place lots and lots of bets. There are going to be a lot of companies out there. The only downside for you as an MSP is all these vendors are going to be competing for your attention and trying to convince you that you should be buying what they sell. But you're just going to have a lot of interesting tools coming at you, a lot of options to choose from. And ultimately, that's going to be a good thing for you. You are going to have innovative, interesting new tools in AI and beyond in much greater volume than you have it right now. Because there are a lot of people out there who are thinking that they can make a ton of money by investing in these startups.
Wow, way to validate the MSP business model, huh, Rich? I mean, that's those are pretty amazing statistics. I mean, we know that there are many more SMB businesses out there than enterprise businesses. So this is exciting to hear that for the first time, the SMB IT spend is going to outpace that of enterprise spend. Good news for MSPs because that's their bread and butter. We know that they're punching a little bit above the SMB weight class, if you will, recently since COVID, trying to get more into co-managed IT in mid and enterprise engagements. But wow, global IT spend being eclipsed for the first time um, by SMBs versus enterprise purchasers of IT services. That really stands out to me. And the other stat that you mentioned that is interesting to me, the AI native startups selling at multiples of 10 to 12 times their total revenue. So this is a SaaS valuation, right? So they're not valuing them based upon, EBITDA, but they probably are. But I'm saying the 10 to 12 times top line revenue is different than what we're seeing when we're seeing MSPs being purchased and rolled up. We're typically seeing a multiple of their EBITDA because there's a lot more cost in delivering these types of services and solutions. And, not for nothing, but, SaaS valuations in general, if I can recall, I think it must have been a couple of years ago when I was looking at the difference in valuation for SaaS companies can exceed even 20 to 30 times top line revenue. So sharpshooters in our listener audience, keep me honest and post a comment and let me know if I'm remembering that correctly. So that's super attractive. And we know several MSPs personally, Rich, you and I, that are starting up AI practices, right? So taking advantage of where the puck is going to be, as the great Wayne Gretzky used to say. And then that $1.3 trillion growth forecast for native AI companies is definitely telling a story here, right? And we talked a lot, Rich, recently, and we will continue to do so, about, is it a bubble? Is it not a bubble for AI, right? I think there might be a little bit of a bubble. I was a little more certain that there was a bubble, maybe a month or two ago when we were talking with some other folks that were kind of giving us some feedback. But if it is, we're going to get past it very, very quickly. And AI is going to be the transformative technology that takes us through the next 20 years and beyond for IT providers, for MSPs, for the businesses they serve, for enterprise. It's a juggernaut.
Well, a few things there. So, I mean, I believe there is a bit of a bubble here, but I mean, and this goes back to conversations I had with the Omdia analysts at their event a few weeks back. You know, if and when that bubble pops, it doesn't change any of the statistics that I reeled off there before. So, I mean, it is still going to be a good time to be an MSP for all of those reasons right there. I will point out the $1.3 trillion number is actually specifically for managed AI applications. So that's actually a subset of AI native applications. This is the software that you as an MSP are either using internally or selling through to your customers. So that's just a huge and enormous number there. In terms of why the focus is on top line revenue as opposed to EBITDA, well, these are startups that we're talking about. A lot of them don't have earnings. They are, burning. Yeah, they're burning through cash. And that's why it's not even just top line revenue like prior 12 months. It's next 12 months. Here's what we're on track to do. That's the number that gets looked at there. One last quick little observation. I didn't bring it up before, but the fact that SMB spend in IT is going to exceed enterprise spend, it's already attracting venture capital interest, but it'll be really interesting, Eric, to kind of see how it changes the behavior, the roadmaps, et cetera, of these traditionally enterprise-oriented companies. Do businesses like Cisco or ServiceNow that do business in SMB, plenty of it, but it's always been sort of a second order priority next to enterprise. Do they begin to catch on to this trend? Do they begin to see it in their sales results and does it change where they focus their R&D and field resources and all that other good stuff? I don't know. I would think it would. You would see that behavior shift over time, and if that's true, that would be a good thing for MSPs as well, and something to watch.
Yeah, I think absolutely. These large vendors that primarily their bread and butter is in the enterprise have to adjust and adapt to this huge opportunity that's shifting more into the SMB, and whether that means that they're releasing, more SMB focused gear and services and platforms and solutions, or it's just, some version of their enterprise light kind of services remains to be seen. But yeah, they would be remiss, and the shareholders wouldn't be happy, Rich, if they weren't trying to grab more of that opportunity in the SMB moving forward.
Well, Eric, that brings us to your tip of the week. Now, before I went to Arizona for the Top Down event, and before I watched my Seahawks lose to your Rams, the two of us met up last week at a Channel Pro event, and that is actually, I think, a nice lead into your tip of the week.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Rich. Yeah. So, MSPs are, as we understand, right? And we talk to MSPs all the time and we hear what their pains and challenges are. And one of the top challenges and pains that we hear pretty often, repeatedly, Rich, is, we need more leads. We need more opportunities. MSPs, you know, believe that once they can get in front of a qualified prospect, there's a need, there's a solution, and they have budget that they can close that. But they struggle with marketing and sales as well. But we're going to focus on the marketing aspect, the lead gen aspect, in today's tip of the week, Rich. So how do we compete as MSPs when everybody is targeting the same audience that we are? They're executing the same marketing tactics, email marketing, social media marketing, LinkedIn. We've talked about all these different things. I want to shift into more of a in-person type of a lead generation strategy, Rich. And this is becoming the local authority in your community by attending events. And I'm not talking about giant conferences here. I mean, obviously that's an opportunity. If you can, work your way up to becoming a speaker on stage and building your authority that way as an influencer and thought leader. I've got a few tips for you guys as well, maybe in another episode on that side of the fence, but we're talking about the local events. I'm talking about these chamber functions, these BNI groups, these cocktail mixers, these happy hours. And I'm not promoting that we have to build out a huge presentation. A lot of MSPs that are first starting out, Rich, dipping their toe in the water, they may not feel very, very comfortable speaking to large groups and things like that, especially if they've got to remember, a big script and present a slide deck and things like that. I'm talking about just these little micro speaking engagements. Think about kind of that speed dating vendor shootout type of a presentations that we see a lot at conferences that we attend, but make it more about asking very candid questions of the audience. If anybody in our listener viewership has seen you and I present, we have a very unique style of presentation. I like to get right down into, the audience and ask very direct questions. It's almost like just give me a question. I'll pose, a strategy and then ask for feedback. So here we're talking about just creating maybe a 5 to 10 minute speaking slot, get into some of these micro speaking slots. And even if there's an agenda at a local mixer and things like that, they typically will let somebody stand up for 5 or 10 minutes. So perfect that, that strong 5 or 10 minute presentation and focus it on really timely topics right now. What are the timeliest topics that we talk about all the time, Rich? Cybersecurity, compliance, and AI. So if we can craft a really compelling 5 or 10 minute in thought leadership, remember, we're not pitching from the stage. We are not selling. We are presenting something that these SMBs that are going to be spending a lot more money on these services and technologies in the next few years are eager to hear. We know that that SMBs are hungry for AI. They're hungry for process and workflow optimization inside of their businesses to see data. So I would talk about governance, cybersecurity, AI, and then ask some questions. I would next tip. So that's the first tip. Get that strong 5 or 10 minute presentation. You're educating, and then have a handout, a 1 page handout. Don't print a big book. Don't spend a lot of money. It's a 1 page handout that covers some of these topics that you've just shared. It shouldn't take you that long to put it together. Remember, this is not something that we're going to, frame and put on the wall. This is something for those attendees to get them thinking, and maybe even a couple of, areas where they can ask questions and hand them back to you. Of course, you're going to have your contact information on there on the bottom and kind of what you do. But again, you're educating, you're listening, and you're providing feedback. And then just keep the message simple as you close. Thank you, everybody. Just want to remind you that we help local businesses stay protected, productive, and profitable. Don't do a big sales pitch. You're in there to educate. You're in there to get people to remember your name. I'm an old school guy, Rich. I say bring business cards because I can't keep up with all the digital business card apps. I must have like 8 of them on my phone. Every time I meet somebody new, they're like, oh yeah, download this up and scan this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't keep up with all that. Just make it human, make it simple, and then invite folks to meet with you for coffee after the event. Hey, come out. I'll buy you some coffee. I'll buy you a drink at the bar. Bring some of those folks, or hey, can we have lunch together? Join me at my table. So budget a little bit, because now you've educated. They have more questions. Hey, I'm out of time, but I'd like to invite you to go, share lunch with me. Break bread with me. Have some coffee, and then you continue that conversation. You make that connection, and I think, Rich, those types of live events are something that folks have they're not doing enough of anymore, because they don't feel that that's where their prospects are. Or they think that's just a sales pitch and things like that. But if we're marketing for leads, we have to market everywhere that our prospects are, and they're going to these little mixers, these events, maybe these lunch and learns. Then as you expand that, Rich, then you can start talking about inviting folks to your lunch and learn or your business breakfast that you've got a bunch of your vendor sponsors that are helping provide MDF or swag or speakers, right, to defray the costs and help you generate more leads. But keep it simple first. Get your toe in the water. Get really comfortable with that 5 or 10 minute presentation, and mingle with the folks and raise your image in the community as that expert, that thought leader that people can, send an email to, pick up the phone, or call if they have a question.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, it raises a few thoughts. So, I mean, first of all, I'm totally with you. I mean, if you're going to do a 5-10 minute talk at one of these events, the two obvious candidates in terms of subject matter are AI and security. And obviously, you're going to have to get a little bit more targeted than that. And so, as it happens, we're recording this episode of the show, I think 2 days after Google released Gemini 3. And I was just an hour or two ago listening to a podcast where some guy was kind of talking about doing demos of some of the new capabilities. If you're standing up in front of the Chamber of Commerce, you probably don't want to be talking to them about Gemini 3, but Copilot. Could you build a really interesting 5-10 minute presentation around one thing that Copilot does that the people in the audience probably don't realize it can do? I'm not talking about writing your emails, but something a little bit more interesting than that. That's thought leadership to me. That's not you pitching a product or your business. That's helping people kind of understand why this AI stuff is so powerful and interesting.
Yeah, I love that. And if you're really savvy, you'll create an opportunity for you to show up at every one of these events just for 5 or 10 minutes and give them a new, like we're doing a tip of the week every week, right, Rich?
Right.
Hey, I'm going to come in and give you, this meeting's, technology or security or AI or Copilot, whatever it is, tip of the week for you guys, and then become that mainstay.
No, that's a great idea. That's great. If the first presentation goes well, just pitch that I can do more of these, and that would be phenomenal. A statistic that came up, and I haven't been able to verify, but during the top-down event, some folks who work in the cyber insurance space said that about 18% of businesses have cyber insurance right now. This sort of floored me. So, I mean, can you do a compelling 5 to 10 minute presentation about the threat landscape and why that means you really, really need to have cyber insurance? Absolutely. And that's valuable content for that audience there. And then I like, you were kind of hinting, I think, Eric, at a more open-ended kind of format, sort of an ask me anything sort of.
Yeah.
So, okay, 10 minutes on AI, ask me anything, and I'll bet you some questions are going to come up, or cybersecurity. So lots and lots of great possibilities, options out there, none of which should really take anyone in our audience way outside their comfort zone, basically, and just in terms of what they know and what they can demonstrate in front of a live audience. And it will establish you as a thought leader in this space. And even if you don't spend the final 30 seconds of your pitch saying, hey, we help businesses like you, even if all you say is, hey, here's my email address, and my phone number, give me a ring if you want to talk more about this stuff, I really do think it'll pay off for you.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, let's get into our interview twofer for this episode, our 100th episode of the show. And we've been kind of doing time travel with you, if you're a regular member of our audience, where, 1 week we're at an event that we attended 2 weeks ago. And so in any event, we're going to have 2 interviews for you with 2 executives from Ingram Micro coming up. These were recorded at their one event in Washington, D.C. just a few weeks back. Both of them are really interesting. I will point out quickly to regular viewers who watch us on YouTube, you're going to see Eric and me magically show up in this very sophisticated looking studio set. That was something that Ingram set up for its own use during the show, and they were gracious enough to allow us to use it for these interviews. If only we had the kind of money, Eric, to go out on the road with that kind of set. But it was great to be able to use it for these interviews. So stick around, folks. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will be joined first by Jennifer Anaya and then Cheryl Rang, both of Ingram, to talk about a number of different topics relevant to the stuff we've been talking about here today. And welcome back to part 2 of this episode of the MSP Chat Podcast, our Spotlight interview segment, where we have actually got a twofer for you this week. We're coming to you live from the Ingram Micro 1 event in Washington, D.C. This is the first of 2 interviews you'll be seeing and hearing with executives from Ingram Micro. Our first guest is Jennifer Anaya. She is the Senior Vice President of Global Marketing at Ingram Micro. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich. Glad to be here.
Eric and I have both known you for quite a while. For folks in our audience who are not familiar with you, tell them a little bit about yourself, about what you do. And then also, because you are much in the news this week at this conference with respect to TrustX, maybe give them a little view for what the TrustX community is.
Okay. So I manage marketing for Ingram Micro globally. That includes the company marketing. We also have a marketing agency inside of Ingram Micro that I am responsible for leading, an amazing team. And then TrustX Alliance as a community. I'm also the executive sponsor for that. And this week, we did announce more global expansion for TrustX. We have a big, hairy goal of going to 20 countries with 1,000 members by 2027. And so the expansion that we just did was more countries in Europe. We're adding Latin America and also Australia. So it's very exciting.
So you've gone, if I'm not mistaken, from 7 countries to 11, on your way to 20.
Yes.
Clearly, Ingram Micro is investing in TrustX. We will get into why that's a good thing for your partners in a moment. But for now, why is that a good thing for Ingram Micro? Why are you folks investing and expanding to 20 countries?
Well, Ingram Micro, we put the customer in the middle of everything we do. And our customers really need the right partners, especially with AI and all the AI technologies coming on board. There's just technology now is in need of integration. There's so many different technologies that are working together for a single solution. And I think AI puts that whole concept on steroids. So having the right partners to be able to deliver the technology and the outcomes that it needs to do for the people and businesses buying it, really important. And TrustX plays a key role with that.
Jen, let's look at it from the partner point of view. For partners that may not have experienced or heard of TrustX, what are the tangible business benefits for joining the TrustX Alliance and maybe the intangible benefits that partners receive?
Yes. So TrustX Alliance has been around for over 35 years. It is a well-established community of members, and really they partner together more than 90% of the time to go to market. And I was actually just speaking with Tiffany Bova as we were prepping for our panel later today, and she was talking about how peer-to-peer partnering is tough because, how do you manage the end customer? How do you make sure that everybody stays accountable to each other and delivering on SLAs and a laundry list of things that can happen when you do partner? And really, TrustX Alliance has written the book on that. They manage a lot against the values that we hold as a community and also the values that they hold as members. And they've worked out a lot of the ways to go to market and very smoothly and successfully. In addition, those partners are getting access to demand generation that we're starting to create for them to help them find new customers. They're also able to get access to SME groups. So we've got a group around engineering, technical advance. We have a sales advance where salespeople can go and learn more and more ways to be able to get to market, to be able to manage their customers, to be able to work pipeline. And so those are really tangible things helping those partners actively grow their business.
It is an interesting moment for community because we are in, more than ever, we are in an era of digital everything.
Yes.
And people chatting with AI all day long, and people chatting with each other via Zoom and Teams. To what extent, in your view, is a community like TrustX even more important right now in this particular digital first kind of moment?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, relationships are everything, and businesses thrive on having the right relationships. People buy from people. So you can use a lot of technology to make people more effective, to be able to help all of us be a lot smarter, perhaps, in how we're managing those customers, or, smarter in the way that we're able to deliver on things. But at the end of the day, the service delivery, the quality of the experience comes from people. And that's why that's important.
So, Jen, we've been in the community a long time.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
One thing that I really appreciate about being in the community that we're in, because I feel like it's unlike any other community I've ever been in before being involved in this community. It's a community of givers, MSPs, vendors, distributors, all collaborating together. It's kind of like that rising tide lifts all boats mentality, instead of being all this co-opetition or competition, I would say, right? Everybody trying to feel like, oh, this is our secret sauce and things like that. Why is our community so different, unique, and special, do you think?
I think it's because the way that technology works really is about a solution. You're not just selling a point solution, especially anymore. And so I think this community has been built, and the channel itself has been built on relationships. And those MSPs are often the experts for the businesses that they're serving. And they need a group, a team behind them to help them do what they do every day for those businesses. And I just feel like that's a natural motion of the way that we work in this industry. And especially those relationships are very solid in this community in particular.
So, Jen, you are a marketing executive, a professional marketer, a marketing executive at Ingram Micro. You are also a marketing icon, a certified marketing icon.
Oh, wow.
Because you won the Marketing Icon Award last week from the Channel Marketing Association. Congratulations for that. As somebody who has been doing marketing for a while, I'm very curious to get your perspectives. We were talking about AI before. In what ways is AI a good thing for marketing? And in what ways has it been maybe not a great thing for marketing?
Great question.
It is a good question. So AI is helping us to do two really good things. One, make the marketing we're doing more personal. And honestly, you can't get enough of that. I mean, anyone hates that form email or that form, note in LinkedIn, right? Of like, hey, and you know that it's a form letter. You want somebody to connect with you with what you need, when you need it, how you need it, why you need it. And that's really what AI and the data is allowing us to do, is make things much more personalized and timely. The second thing that it's doing is allowing us to scale the work that we're doing. So, writing good content is hard. Creating good content is hard. You know that, right? How do you scale that? How can you use AI to also bring it to other parts of the world, translations, and helping us to be able to, again, make things more relevant to the audiences that we're marketing to. So those are two really good things. I'd say the tough thing is it's technology that needs to be integrated, and marketing uses a lot of technology. I was talking to Forrest Smith, who's actually here, and he is our CISO, and he also manages all of our infrastructure. And we gave him a list of all the technology we use in marketing, and I think he was surprised. It's a lot. And it's growing. And, the MarTech industry is, multiple billions of dollars, right? So there's a lot of integration that's needed for the AI to work properly within the tools and the tool stack that we have. And so that's, it requires that extra step to be able to make it all work together.
So, Jen, as we record this, we're in Q4 of 2025, which means pretty quickly everyone's going to start thinking about 2026 and growing their businesses. So what marketing-related New Year's resolutions should partners be thinking about as they go into 2026 to win?
Yeah. So, Eric, I'm going to go old school on this answer.
Bring it.
Get a plan. I don't know of many partners who actually have a comprehensive marketing plan in place, and one that allows them to not just use and, manage and work effectively with the teams they have, but also work effectively with their partners and their teams. There's so much available to partners today when it comes to marketing. So many lead generation programs, so many events that we all go to. How are we maximizing all of those touch points and opportunities? Getting a plan helps a lot with doing that.
Well, Jennifer, we really appreciate you taking some time out from a busy show to join us here right now. For folks in our audience who would like to learn more about you, get in touch with you, or learn more about TrustX, where should they go?
Yeah, just ingrammicro.com is always a good place to go. Or you can check us out on Ingram Micro Xvantage. And there's a lot of information there for you as well.
So once again, thank you, Jennifer, for joining us on the show. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. Don't go far. We're going to be right back with another interview for you from the Ingram Micro One conference. This one will be with Cheryl Rang, the Vice President of Technology Solutions at the company. A lot of good, interesting topics to get into with her. So stick around. We will be right back. And welcome back to the second of our two interviews here on the MSP Chat podcast, recorded live at the Ingram Micro One conference in Washington, D.C. This time we are pleased to be joined by Cheryl Rang. She is the Vice President of Technology Solutions at Ingram Micro. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
You and I have spoken a number of times. For folks in our audience who are new to you and new to the Technology Solutions group, tell them a little bit about both.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Ingram for quite a few years in various roles, but I lead our vendor organization. And so my team collaborates with our vendor partners and our customers to be able to bring together solutions to help them deliver technology in a unique fashion.
So I wrote an article recently about the AI bubble that everybody seems to be talking about, and you can make the case that in the hyperscaler segment of the market right now, there may be some overinvestment going on, but I really don't get that feeling at all about the segment of the AI world that attendees at this event would be playing in. What are you seeing right now around AI infrastructure, and where in particular is there the most market activity?
That's a great question. And actually, I think if AI is a bubble, it's also the arrow that's going to just blow everything up and continue to drive things forward faster. we have a ton of vendor partners that we work with. And what we hear day in, day out is AI is not only the technology that's being used to help, solutions move forward faster and be able to change the landscape of how people interact with technology, but there's also a lot of investment in creating AI solutions. So think of it, AI is the technology that you're building for and with. And what we see is that it happens in any segment of the business. So whether you're talking about networking and security, you're talking about an infrastructure, either albeit in the cloud or in a hybrid environment, or down to the endpoints of things like AI PCs and, video capability of being able to translate, real time. Like the use cases for it is endless, and it's really driving everything that we see and hear from our partners.
Yeah, Cheryl, it really sounds like AI is like the headline for every story, everything that people are thinking about, infrastructure opportunities to support, these data lakes and hardware. From where you're sitting, where do you see some low-hanging fruit opportunities for partners to take advantage of some of the AI solutions, not only for themselves and their organizations, but maybe to, introduce to their customers?
Yeah, at Ingram, we've certainly invested a lot together with the hyperscalers. So I'll start there because I think that the solutions, their name and their brand continues to be very, very closely tied with AI. So if I think about our partnership with AWS, we do everything from services solutions and leveraging AI on workload placement, evaluation, migration and assessments, down into creating solutions together with a partner like AWS, creating an agent as an example and helping get that into the hands of the end users. So I think that just leaning in where the opportunity is in the infrastructure space and through agentic is going to be a very, I don't want to say it's a light lift, but it can be when they lean on Ingram to help them do it.
I think that's the next evolution, right? Going into agentic opportunities. Right?
Yeah, it's got to be actionable. I mean, the AI always sounds great when you're interacting, and I'm sure everyone has their preferred LLMs that you're using, whether it's a Copilot or Perplexity or Gemini. There's a lot of different use cases out there, and it's very reactive today. You ask it a question, it gives you a thought-provoking answer. Agentic is then, now how do you put that answer into work for you? Instead of just draft me an email, how do you make it into send an email on my behalf?
Well, that was something I wanted to get into with you a little bit, the whole agentic opportunity. And one of the things I was going to ask is, where are we in terms of being able to actually deliver agentic solutions to customers? It sounds like that is happening now.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about Ingram's role in enabling partners to assemble and deliver agentic AI solutions.
Yeah, so we, as mentioned, and I have a main stage where we'll be talking with partners about their experience and leaning with Ingram in a services capability, building out agents. And so it's real time, but I think a lot of times when partners think about agentic AI or an end user does, they think it has to be a level 4 expert of creating, a fully automated, autonomous machine that you're working with, and it doesn't need to be that complex. And so our journey through both Enable AI, our program of helping partners get comfortable with AI solutions, as well as the services that we can provide, just start taking one step. It's instead of making it big and robust, just have fun, try it, play with the technology first, build an agent, see what you think, get some trust going with the machine. That always makes a big difference. And then, you can continue to scale out from there, and getting agents working with other agents is when the technology is really going to start booming.
So Cheryl, let's pivot to security. A lot of partners are really kind of building out their security competencies, their solution stack for their customers. Obviously, AI introduces a whole other opportunity for security solutions. Are there other underexploited areas where partners can take advantage of some security solutions and maybe distinguish themselves against their competitors from where you're sitting?
I think that the security realm in general is changing. We see AI playing good cop and bad cop. You can't go on a social without saying, well, is that a real fact or is it fiction? You see a video and is that a real video or is that, someone, a deep fake taking over and giving you fake information? So you really have to be cognizant about what kind of threats are happening. And then, what I love is our portfolio of vendor partners are coming up with the next gen technology to help really bring solutions forward faster and keep partners and their end users secure. So you think of companies like Fortinet, Proofpoint, Palo Alto, they're all coming up with using AI to help their solutions be more secure against AI potentially as a threat.
Right, because the threat actors are leveraging AI for bad things, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, Cheryl, I've been writing about the Internet of Things for years now, and it's perennially been the partner opportunity. It's just over the horizon, but, coming fast. IoT, I believe, is one of the technology solutions your group is responsible for. So what is the state of play right now in IoT? Where within that area are partners, in fact, going to market now with solutions that folks in our audience should be thinking about delivering to?
I would say certainly the network has been an area where it's bringing the devices at the edge faster, closer to the source, being able to process data closer to the edge. And so the network piece of it, moving from 4G to 5G, and now seeing things like 5G Wi-Fi come out, are creating a heightened use case for IoT. So it's not just a smart home, but it could be smart manufacturing. It could be in healthcare, in banking, in finance. You see a lot more technology closer to the source, which is part of IoT and where we really see partners leaning in. So there's a big still opportunity out there for it. I think we're seeing it become more normalized, and now it's how do you get it working smarter at the edge and faster at the edge, and being able to bring more and more of those IoT pieces together to create a unified solution.
Cheryl, for those folks in our audience that aren't really as familiar with IoT, can you kind of describe some plays that partners can make from a professional services perspective in helping their customers understand what, these devices are in their network, how they can assess them, maybe secure them, maybe, identify opportunities to add more professional services, maybe from even an MRR perspective?
Yeah, I think a lot of it from, if you think of IoT, Internet of Things, it's really how do you connect devices together to create a better experience. And so if you look at a unified collab space and you want to bring together the digital video together with your laptop, together with a smartwatch, together with a network, you need a lot of things to be able to work together to have it actually deliver the experience that you want for an end user. And that in and of itself opens up a big services opportunity for our partners. So our vendors suggest, working with them to help bring pieces together. But then if I were looking at partner opportunity, it's how do you help make sure that the experience is identified that you're trying to create? And then do you have the capabilities to do that in-house? And if not, how are you leaning on a partner like Ingram Micro to help expand your bench and bring more and more things together?
So last question, Cheryl, and a bit of a change of topic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're a finalist for CRN's Woman of the Year award, specifically as Role Model of the Year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, it's a very humbling honor, and I'm excited just to be part of the amazing group of women that are being nominated as well.
We need as many women as possible in this industry right now. We need as many talented people in this industry as possible right now. And clearly you have had some success personally as a role model to women in the tech industry. For folks in our audience, what are some tips, some pointers, some things you've learned maybe that might help them be role models too?
Yeah, I think it's, there's nothing more gratifying than when you have the opportunity to give back to the next generation, the next future leaders. And it's not always just someone junior to you in your role or someone junior to you in experience. But it's really how do you just bring together and bring up and support women in the industry. We're still underrepresented. We have great opportunities ahead of us. I've been very, very fortunate to have amazing support systems, both men and women at Ingram, encourage me along the way. But there's that give back. It's finding time and being purposeful and intentional with what you're doing. And it's being realistic on the opportunities are there, encouraging and giving confidence back to women who aspire to do more, to do things differently with their career. It's amazing to see when it actually comes together.
Well, Cheryl Rang, Vice President of Technology Solutions at Ingram Micro, thank you so much for joining us on the show. For folks in the audience here who want to get in touch with you, learn about more about you, learn more about the Technology Solutions Group at Ingram, where should they go?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. So I'm Cheryl Rang, and happy to connect with everyone and see how we can continue to bring technology into the hands of the future.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show again. Folks, Eric and I are going to take a break here. When we come back on the other side, we're going to share a few final thoughts about both of these interviews that you just heard on the podcast here. Have a little fun, wrap up the show. Stick around. We're going to be right back. And welcome back to part 3 of this episode of the MSP Chat podcast. Thanks once more to Jennifer Anaya and Cheryl Rang of Ingram for taking time out in the middle of easily Ingram's biggest conference of the year to speak with us. And obviously, we just spoke with Cheryl about some of the technologies that we were talking about at the beginning of the show in terms of AI and security. And so very interesting to get the perspective of somebody like her who is sort of on the front lines, both on the vendor side and with the partner side, solution provider MSP side, in terms of where the opportunities and where the growth is right now and what folks in our audience should be thinking about. Also really great to have an opportunity to discuss community with Jennifer a little bit. And what's interesting about that and kind of ties things together for me on this episode a little bit. I top down, we were talking about at the beginning of the show, this is a venture capital firm. It's not a community, but it's totally focused on the MSP space, and everyone involved in it understands how important community is, how sort of defining community is as an element in the MSP world. And it's something that they're kind of building into their model as a result. There are all sorts of kind of peer-to-peer things they do with the founders over there. A lot of their limited partners are former MSPs or former vendor executives, and they're in the process of setting up this new resource that's going to allow their portfolio company founders to kind of tap into the expertise of people you and I know really well from the vendor world and the MSP world. And so they understand the power of community, and they're building it into their business there. And that just reinforces and plays into the community related part of the conversation with Jennifer.
Yeah, we both appreciate the community, the MSP community, and for all kinds of different reasons. But it feels like home to me, and everybody's giving and helping each other out. So that was a great conversation with Jen. And then with Cheryl, we've had guests on the show before, Rich, that have talked about, the AI opportunity is not simply the software and the workflows and the agents and all this, but there is a really strong hardware pull-through requirement to build this stuff. And I really am beginning to appreciate a lot more directly, unlike I've done before, just how much opportunity there is. Because I remember, back in my MSP days, so aging myself a little bit, we made pretty good money selling, infrastructure upgrades and device upgrades, laptops, desktops, servers, and things like that. I think AI might allow MSPs an opportunity to see a resurgence of more hardware sales as they're building out the capabilities. I mean, AI, ready or AI enabled hardware. And storage and things like that. So I'm starting to track that a little bit closer than I might have in the past, Rich.
And it's funny you say that because I believe it was last week, Gartner posted some projections And so some projections for where spending will come in 2025, and then looking ahead to 2026. And they have a list of like 6 categories that they will traditionally use in these projections, and it's desktop hardware and server hardware and application software and so on. And you look at the year-over-year growth projections for 2025 and all of those different categories. And in the hardware related ones, it's maybe 5 to 9%. In the SaaS ones, it's maybe 10 to 15%. And then there's this one category they always use, which is just data center infrastructure spending. And off the top of my head, I don't have it in front of me, it was something like 43% year over year growth this year. So, I mean, that's where, and we know where this is coming from, right? It's all about AI and the NVIDIA processors and the server racks and the cooling, the whole thing. That's where the AI bubble is inflating. That's where the AI spend is right now. And anyone in our audience who has any kind of opportunity to tap into that with their customers, that's a great place to get started as you're building that sort of business process optimization muscle with AI for, next year, 2027 and beyond.
Right. I mean, think about processing, think about storage, think about backup, and the size of the data just keeps getting larger and larger. So this is definitely a very attractive consumption-based billing model, if you know what I mean.
I do indeed, and I agree. And folks, that leaves us with time for just one last thing. And animals, Eric, they're just like us. They're just like people. We are animals after all. And if there's any animal that is really most just like people, it's got to be a parrot, right? Because they can actually talk a little bit, just like we can. But it turns out, based on a story coming to us from South Korea, that some parrots, at least, are just like people, just like me, at least, because they love coffee. So it seems recently that the Korean Animal Rescue and Management Association was called by a coffee shop in South Korea. They said a loose parrot had wandered into the shop and it was stealing coffee from the patrons. And they wanted somebody to come and take the parrot away. Now, this story ends well, I will say, for the parrot. The proprietors of the coffee shop fed it snacks. People were petting it. So it had a great time. It had some coffee. It had some food. It got attention from people. This rescue association comes and takes it away. I'm sure they found it a good home. I will simply say this, Eric. The bird is believed to have been a yellow-crowned Amazon parrot, which is native to Central America. Nobody knows how one of these wound up in South Korea. The species is endangered, Eric, and I say you better believe it is, because if you're a parrot and you come after my coffee in a coffee shop, you're in danger.
You caffeinated fowl, you. Nice.
I would share almost anything with a parrot, but simply not my coffee. Well, folks, that is all the time we've got for you this week on this episode of the MSP Chat Podcast. We thank you for joining us. We're going to be back in another week's time with our abbreviated 100th episode celebration in episode 101. Until then, I will remind you this is both a video and an audio podcast, which means that if you're listening to us right now, but you'd like to check us out on video, go to YouTube, look up MSP Chat. If you're watching us on YouTube, but you're also into audio podcasts, go to Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever it is you get your audio podcast. You're probably going to find us there too. And wherever it is you do find us, please subscribe, rate, review. It will help other people discover and enjoy the show just as you do. This show is produced by the great Russ Johns. It is edited by the great Riley Simpson. They are both part of the team with us here at Channel Mastered. They can do a podcast with you if you'd like. But podcasts really aren't what we're about at Channel Master. We are all about helping vendors build, grow, and optimize MSP channel programs. Check it out at www.channelmastered.com. Channel Mastered has a sister organization called MSP Mastered. That's Eric working one-on-one with MSPs to help them grow and optimize their business. You can learn more at www.mspmastered.com. So once again, we thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a week. Until then, we will remind you, as we always do, that you can't spell channel without MSP.